My name is Thomas Peterson, and I stand here as a member of a 3-generation Cleveland Heights family. We have lived, worked, and raised our children here for over 40 years. And today we stand here because a deep portrayal of the values that once defined this city. On August 29th, my nephew, Christian Tyson Thomas, was only 18. He had just turned 18 in June. In response to a mental health crisis, his father and his sisters called for help, but instead of help, they watched as police recklessly fired 34 shots in a residential neighborhood, striking Christian 9 times. They watched as Christian was stolen from us, and with him a part of our family's legacy and the pride of place that we once had for Cleveland Heights. This was not only a tragedy, it was a failure. A failure of leadership, a failure of policing, a failure of Cleveland Heights to live up to the values of inclusion, safety, and justice. The police department had grant funding, programs, and protocols for moments designed just like this. They had tools to de-escalate. They had a responsibility to preserve life. But instead, they chose not to follow any of those things. They chose violence via an AR-15 rifle. We know Cleveland Heights. We know this city's heart. This is not who we are, but this is what leadership that prioritizes power, image, and perception in their own legacy over people has allowed to happen. We are here not only to demand justice for Christian, but to demand our city back. A city where officers live among us, know us, and call us neighbors. A city where leadership invests in all neighborhoods, not just a privileged few. A city where children are not left to die at the hand sworn to protect them. Christian deserved better. Our family deserved better. Cleveland Heights members deserve better. We will not stop until his name, his humanity, and his legacy are remembered in this city. And we will not stop until Cleveland Heights returns to being the place that we know it can be, safe, inclusive, and just for all. We demand change, we demand justice, and we demand that petty politics be put to the side, because this is bigger than politics. This is about people. This is about our family and everybody else's family that calls Cleveland Heights home. This is about whether our children can grow up safe in the very city that raised us. We demand leaders who choose courage over comfort. Leaders who will put service before self. Leaders who will not hide behind excuses, but stand up and take responsibility. Because the measure of a community is not in its declarations, but it's in its deeds and what it does in its hardest moments. And Cleveland Heights is being measured right now. It is setting a precedent of what it's going to do when its most vulnerable needs help. We will not accept silence. We will not accept delay. We will not accept excuses. We demand a city that lives up to its promise of justice and equality and safety for all. And we will not stop until we get it. Please remember Christian Tyson Thomas's name. More Cleveland Heights community members need to be upset with us, because if it can happen here, it can happen to anybody. Or happen here, it can happen anywhere. And if it can happen to our children, it can happen to yours.
So today we will be going to the council meeting, and we will be demanding answers in that council meeting. And we thought this time would be fitting because today is the first council meeting after the recall, and now we know who potentially, at least 2 of the individuals, one of the 2 may be the next mayor. To be frankly honest with you, those individuals have come forward and talked with us prior to today and have made some promises on accountability and being more open about things that they could share, or knowledge about things that they didn't have knowledge of that they probably have knowledge of now. The reality is that we are going to continue to be relentless for the pursuit of accountability for Christian, because as Sarah said today is Christian, tomorrow it's your child. In a community like this community will be measured, and its leaders will be measured in how they respond to the questions we have and the accountability that we're seeking for this family. At this time, we'll take questions if you have them.
What does accountability look like to you? What does justice look like to the whole family?
So I'll speak first. Justice is first being open about the information you have and sharing it. putting in place programs and systems within the police department so that this doesn't happen again. And that means making sure that the grant that you have for mental health, that you are training officers on that. Being open with the community on where you failed and what you're going to do next so it doesn't happen again. Have an open community meeting about that so that this family and other families that have concerns can come forward and talk with you about that. The whole point is community. Community means everyone. So when this happened, this didn't just happen to Christian, it happened to the entire Cleveland Heights, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, United States community. And so that's what accountability looks like. Also, terminating the officer, terminating the officers who were involved in the death of Christian. That also means reprimanding the supervisors who were involved in the death of Christian. That also means making sure that, once again, that you have policies and procedures in place that you currently don't have, and making sure those are in place so that no one else has to lose their life in Cleveland Heights in the way that Christian did.
What could have been done differently on August 29th, 2024?
There's several things that could have been done differently. Number one, the officers who, when they arrived, the first thing that should have happened, there should have been a crisis center out there. And that crisis center or crisis team that they have funds for, should have been there to deal with Christian and the family prior to those officers really engaging him. They could have held the perimeter until the person got there. Additionally, having an AR-15 in a community and using it, I mean, there are so many opportunities, bad opportunities for other people in that area to be injured when you have a high-powered rifle. Any further questions? I want Sarah to elaborate because she's done the work, she's constantly doing the work, didn't know that this moment would come, that the work that she's been doing, her life's work, would also include her nephew.
Yes. So I am a therapist. I've been working in mental health for 15 years. I worked in acute stabilization at the psychiatric hospital. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to de-escalate a patient with a weapon. So accountability for us looks like them looking at this as a mistake, not just something that they cover up or not something that they just tell us that it's thoughts and prayers and a tragedy, but this was a mistake. They had grant funding. They have the First Call program. That was a preemptive measure, knowing that mental health was on the rise, knowing that all of these things, that substance use, mental health, and various other things that account for people's mood or anything else to be disturbed. They did that preemptively. And when the time came to utilize all that training and to utilize the funds where it was supposed to go, they chose violence. So, like I said, as somebody who works in mental health, I have seen very sick people. My nephew was only a danger to himself that night, like many sick people are, like many people with mental illnesses are.